Hi guys, thank you for joining in once again. Today we are looking at the topic financial freedom, and I believe it will help you in the best way possible. So we're looking at financial freedom. What are the factors that we need to have in place to have financial freedom? How is it defined? What are the necessary things a young person needs to know when it comes to financial freedom? There are a lot of definition when it involves financial freedom, but I have my own personal definition, and I hope that today's teaching somehow will give you a little bit of insight on how to approach your finance going forward. How do I define financial freedom? So I have a formula for it. I let's represent financial freedom as F, and my formula is C plus S. My C represents cash flow, cash flow, and my S represents structure. So I believe to get financial freedom, you need cash flow and you need structure. And the reason why you need cash flow and structure is that whatever cash flow that you have currently goes into the structure, and then the structure has a way of bringing you back to cash flow. And because you have a structure, you tend to provide yourself profit, sometimes overflow, and then you can as well say freedom. And there is a very important factor that people do not really consider. And the problem with a lot of people when it comes to financial freedom is that a lot of young adults focus on S. They focus on the structure part and forget about the cash flow. They start to focus on structure to generate cash flow instead of they should focus on cash flow to generate structure. Okay, here's what I mean. Let's just a practical example. Somebody will come to you and say to you that okay, you need to invest in the stock market. In the stock market. And when somebody says to you, invest in the stock market, somebody that is just out of the university and he hasn't even gotten a stable job yet, he decides that, okay, I'm going to put the 3,000 naira I have into the stock market every month. And people are going to tell you compounding effect. But compounding effect only works for people who already have a stable cash flow. So they will tell you that, okay, when you put your money into the stock market, it allows you to get a cumulative interest which you benefit from it. But let's look at it practically. That let's assume that I have 3,000 naira, and let's assume the stock rises by 100% in a month. That is how much? That is 6,000 naira. That is not enough money to do you anything, right? People that actually benefit from the stock market benefit from two different channels. Is either they put some amount of money for a long time. You'll be here in 20 years, 30 years, right? Or they put a huge amount of money for a short time. That is the way I think the stock market works. And a lot of young adults who don't have cash flow yet and are looking forward to getting into the stock market, to me, are just wasting of it's just a waste of time. For example, you will hear somebody say to you that okay, save get a land. I think this is particularly to the real estate company. They will ask you to get a land with 50K monthly, and then you pay it for 3 years to get an allocation of a probably half plot of land, something, probably a plot, whatever it is, right? They ask you to do that for 3 years. And the problem with that is that you are saving all of this money to be able to get a simile asset. Sometimes the land they give to you is never the land that you initially want, the allocation that you should get. But anyways, let's just assume you get the land allocation, right? They say that okay, once you invest this amount of money monthly into this asset, you get a plot of land after 3 years. Now, that plot of land in itself is only an asset, is only a long-term asset. It doesn't have a present value to you, right? It can't generate you cash flow except you want to rent it out to farmers to use it. But then even that still cannot generate you the kind of cash flow that you want. But imagine you take this 50K and invest it in yourself, and probably you use it to go to events that allows you to meet more people, or you took this 50K, you decided to learn a new skill, or you took this 50K, saved it together, use it to start a business. It has the tendency of helping you build structures, right? So a lot of people focus more on structures. For example, somebody that doesn't have a cash flow wants to buy a land, or somebody that doesn't have a cash flow wants to invest in the stock market, real estate, and others, they are structures that are expected to bring you even more cash flow. In fact, new businesses are also structures that are expected to bring you more cash flow. But a lot of people are more focused on structures rather than cash flow. So somebody once said something to me, and I think I find it very profound. He said that when you have money, like when you are liquid enough, what I mean by liquid, this is when you are liquid enough, you have the ability to make more money. And here's what he was trying to communicate to me. That let's assume you have a stock you have saved up and you have about a 1 million naira. Let's assume that you have that money in your account, sitting in your account, 1 million naira, and you heard about a business opportunity. It is very easy for you to take this money and start up that business opportunity than for someone who has a land, somebody that doesn't have any cash flow. Please, it's very important to know that somebody that doesn't have any cash flow and he has a land, probably he saved 50K monthly for 3 years and was able to get the land. He can't sell this land enough to be able to help him to take over that opportunity compared to somebody that is liquid. The point I'm trying to make is that when you have cash flow, you're able to build structure faster. And the question you want to ask me that, okay, what are the things I need to build cash flow? What are the things I need to build cash flow? Number one, get a job. Like it is that simple. Get a job. A job has a way of giving you seed. If you watch our previous video, we talked about a job giving you seed, and that seed can be used to invest, right? So get a job. When you get a job, it provides you a predictable cash flow. And imagine if you are earning, let's assume that you're earning about 1K USD as an employee. That kind of money has the ability, as that kind of money can help you achieve building structures. For example, it can help you build, it can help you buy a land, it can help you invest in the stock market consistently, it can help you take advantage of some crypto offers, it can help you do a lot of things, right? But somebody that doesn't have a job, that probably they are feeding them, you are still being fed by your parents, you can't say that you want to start saving money and be getting structures. It's a waste of time. It will not bring value to you in the long run. In fact, you might just sell the land someday and sell it cheaply or do whatever it is with it, and it still doesn't bring you value. The first system to get a cash flow is to get a job. Number two is to start a business. Start a business. Now, when it comes to starting a business, you might ask that, okay, I don't have cash. How do I start a business? Definitely, we are going to talk about that in the next video. However, it's also very important for you to know that starting a business is also a way of getting cash flow. So the ways that we get cash flow is that you get a job, you start a business, or there's also one that a lot of people do right now is that you affiliate. You affiliate with a business or you affiliate with a product just to get some amount of money. So when you have secured cash flow, and I have this singular rule before I get myself involved in the stock market, before I start investing in real estate, I have a singular rule that I use to measure things. And the singular rule is simple. Before I can invest into anything, I have to use cash flow. Let's assume that I have a stable cash flow. Let's assume that this cash flow is my salary. Let's assume this cash flow is my salary. Before I start investing, I ensure that this cash flow can produce another cash flow. Now, I use this salary to start a business. For some people, they decide to get another job. So they have like two jobs, which is giving like two predictable income. So they can take out of that income to start building structure. My principle is that once I have cash flow, the first thing first is not to build structure first. The next thing is to open another portal, another cash flow portal. So once I have at least two cash flow, now I can start diversifying some of that income into savings, and then some, this savings is there basically for any opportunity that pops up along the way. Sometimes you see some distress sales, sometimes you see some business opportunities, sometimes you're just scrolling online and you see an opportunity to be a part of a community. All of this savings money is what will help you achieve that. So you get your cash flow first, you get your second cash flow. Once you get your second cash flow, now we can now start talking about structures. Your next question is, okay, when it comes to structure, what are the things that I should look into investing that can bring about cash flow? Remember, the first definition of financial freedom is that you have cash flow and then this cash flow is moved into you channel your cash flow into building structures, and these structures can be real estate, it can be crypto, it can be just anything that has a tendency of generating you more money. It can be business, it can be uh whatever it is, right? I don't have it at the top of my head, but it is a lot. You can always generate. Some people create ebooks, some people spend a lot of money to create courses, some people invest it in getting cameras and investing more time to building their YouTube so that they can keep generating money. But the point is still the same, that once you get your cash flow, the cash flow can then be channeled into getting yourself a structure. I believe you understand that. Just to reiterate, my principle of cash flow is that once you have your first cash flow, which can be a job, a business, or an affiliate, you channel that cash flow into building another cash flow. So once you have at least two stable cash flow, you can then take a portion of it, save, and a portion of it to start building structures. So once you are able to do that, it helps you get faster to financial freedom. But just like I said, the mistake a lot of young people are making right now is that they are more focused on structures. And the reason why people are focused on structures is because the internet is pushing it out. If you are here to buy a stock, you are not making sense with your life. Or if you are here to get a plot of land, I saw a billboard recently, and on the billboard is a real estate billboard. They're like, buy a plot of land, we're going to give you a ram for free. And yeah, it makes sense probably, but a lot of people are just young people who are supposed to focus on cash flow are jumping on this, and when they get the land finished, let's assume they get the land after 2 years or after 3 years, they just realize that okay, this land cannot generate me anything. If I even want to generate money from it, probably I'll invest into agriculture. I need to start looking for cash flow to do that. So instead of having to waste that lot of that 3 years in getting that land, you can spend that amount in probably building up yourself, probably getting a new job, probably getting into a new business, probably studying the affiliate market world, all of these things that produces you cash flow before you can now start focusing on structure. I believe this has been helpful one way or the other, but just to be sure, I will reiterate. My definition of financial freedom is that you have cash flow and you have structure. This cash flow is the predictable income that you have, and it can be a job, a business, or you are affiliated to something, just something that brings you consistent money and it is predictable. And I have a principle when it comes to cash flow, is that I need to have at least a minimum of two streams of income before I can start thinking of building a structure. And when I say structure, I mean things that have the tendency of generating you more money. For example, real estate. For example, the crypto market. For example, the stock market. For example, a new business. For example, investing into other people's business. Right? All of these things are structures that have the tendency of bringing you more money. But the problem I've noticed about a lot of young people is that they invest more in structures. They are focused on structures because the internet says so, and they neglect cash flow, and at the very end they realize that, let's assume they spend a lot of years trying to get a structure, it is still not sustainable because they don't have a predictable cash flow. That is when they start doing distress sale, and they just sell the land. Probably such person sells the land, or maybe the stock market is fluctuating, they just do a distress sale, and voila, they've lost the money. The entire time has been wasted and nothing has been achieved. Financial freedom very far away from them. It is very simple. Focus on cash flow. Once you get your first cash flow, focus on the second cash flow. Once you get your second cash flow, then structure a bit of it into savings, and then structure the rest into building a structure. Now, once you have the structure is generating you money, your cash flow is generating you money, and before you know it, you are attaining financial freedom. There are many other nuances, right, that we need to consider. For example, spending habits, don't spend more than you earn, all of those things. But I'm not really talking about that right now. What I'm really talking about is the money actually getting in. How you sustain the money determines if you are really going to be free. But that is a conversation for another day. I hope this has been helpful one way or the other. If it has, do what to share with a friend. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Peace out.